recording is started?
Yes.
Jane, are you ready? Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 7, 2022, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. sharp. You can join today's board meeting via phone. Dial 971-254-3149. Conference ID 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and offered on the best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and click on live broadcasts. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. So, Deb, I know we have one person signed up for public comment this morning. Have there been any others that have been added to that list?
There have not.
Very good, thank you. So, this meeting was called to order. We want to welcome everyone, and please request that everyone in the room please sign our guest list. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance as we always do. Commissioner Stark, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we will go right into public comment. It is my understanding that we have either or Zachary and or Margot Clement. And I want to make an announcement just before we allow the Clements to start their public testimony. We will allow 3 minutes for public testimony, as we always do. I do want to mention that the Clements should not expect the commissioners to weigh in on this issue. We are in receipt of a letter from your attorney, Christian Schneider, from the Duboff Law Group. And anytime there is potential litigation, our own county counsel recommends to us that we do not engage, since, again, there is potential litigation here. So, do we have either Zachary or Margot Clement on with us this morning?
Yes, I'm here, and I'm going to turn it over to Christian to speak with you guys. So thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Very good. Again, we've got 3 minutes scheduled. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. As you mentioned, you had received a letter, and so, like you said, just for a short time, just wanted to touch on some of those points as it might be relevant to other people in the community. Just the biggest concern here, one would be the timing. A lot of people didn't have a lot of time to make adjustments to their scheduling. A lot of people were unable to do that because of supply chain issues as well as scheduling. Something we've seen is that once people became aware of the change, that there was a deadline, people were trying to rush to get their inspections done, to get a lot of things connected. So it really was kind of a rush of things happening at one time. And especially in a situation like with the Clements, where they were unable to have their inspection done, even though everything that was happening was out of their control. We don't like, in this situation, when we're working with a community, with the board, with the county, to allude to and be talking about litigation or things like that. We definitely want this not to be that type of a situation. We want to be a public discourse. We want to be something that can be worked out, something that can have public engagement. We definitely don't want this to be any litigation or anything of that situation here, because we don't think that would be beneficial. This is definitely something that has more to do with meeting the needs of the county, because we understand why the board implemented this temporary ban, but we also want to be able to make sure that those in the community also who are being affected by this, in situations like this where it almost seems a little bit unfair that they weren't able to have their applications seen and taken into account when there weren't maybe as many opportunities for them to actually make adjustments necessary at this time. Something else that, just briefly in closing, this is a community that relies heavily on those who are permanent residents to support it. So we don't want to discount that at all, but we also want to see that those who are coming into this community, who are hoping to help it grow and be a part of it, that their concerns are being accounted for at this time, and most definitely that we can work together and actually come to a reasonable conclusion in this situation, because for a lot of people it isn't just a nuisance or anything like that. It can actually have some significant financial consequences for individuals, and with that I turn my time back over to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Appreciate that very much. Okay, so let us appreciate your time today. Incidentally, the letter from the Dubois Law Group has gone into our public record. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that. Thank you. So moving on, item number 4, non-agenda items. We do have one unscheduled item, which we will take up after agenda item number 6. Moving on to our legislative and administrative. Item number 5, discussion and consideration of a professional services agreement with Roger Cook, PhD, LPC for sex offender assessment and counseling services. And with us this morning, we've got Lieutenant Ani Singhom from the Sheriff's Office. Good morning, Ani.
Good morning, Commissioners. So before you is a contract for consideration between Tillamook County and Dr. Roger Cook. He's provided sex offender assessment, evaluations, and treatment for a number of years here for the adult justice involved individuals that we supervise. We started this contract last year to provide an ability for the justice involved individuals to get engaged in treatment quicker and be able to continue their attendance despite if they don't have the funds to cover the cost. So we cover the cost up front, and then we bill the JIIs back, and they go ahead and pay us back when they're able to. So it's more streamlined for them to hurry up and get engaged in treatment, which is what we want, and also successful completions, so that the financial piece of it is not a barrier for them to be involved.
Perfect. Thank you, Ani. Can I ask what the JII? Can I ask what that is? JII.
Sorry, justice involved individuals.
Thank you so much for that. Okay. Thank you, Ani. Any discussion, questions?
I think it's wonderful that we're working to get folks involved in treatment as rapidly as possible. I think there's always the question, as folks are found to have committed a crime, how do we help them come out of our jail system better and able to engage in our society in a positive way? And this is one of those steps. And Ani, I know that as probation and parole, you find yourself doing a lot of things that we would consider perhaps maybe more social work and supportive to help people have that future. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate that this contract is in place with the intention of moving people rapidly into treatment.
And I would concur with everything that Commissioner Scar just mentioned. We don't like to think of having sex offender problems in a county like Tillamook County, county where we've got more cows than we do people. But it is a fact of life today. And Ani, we appreciate everything that you do and the Sheriff's Office does, and all the groups that are involved with this. I know Tillamook Family Counseling is probably involved, and many others, Adventist Health and all. So again, thank you for your work on this, and with that, I think we are ready for a motion.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, consideration of a professional services agreement with Roger Cook, PhD, LPC, for sex offender assessment and counseling services. I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Lieutenant Singh, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Item number 6, discussion and consideration of a resolution proclaiming the month of September as Suicide Prevention Month in Tillamook County, Oregon. And with us this morning, we've got Janine Pongos, Prevention Specialist, and Frank Hannah Williams, Executive Director of Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this proclamation request. The month of September is known as Suicide Prevention Month. There's several different observances that go on in this month. This week is Suicide Prevention Week, and then this Saturday is the World Suicide Prevention Day. And I just wanted to go over a little brief statement before we talk about the proclamation request. So I just want to remind everybody that suicide is a cause of death that can affect people of all ages. Each year, people of all ages die by suicide in Oregon. In 2020, according to the Oregon Health Authority, 835 Oregonians died by suicide. Currently, the most recent statistics show that suicide is the 9th leading cause of death of Oregonians throughout the lifespan. So this number differs with adults and children. So for youth, ages 10 to 24, it's currently the 2nd leading cause of death. So this is a very important issue that should be really in people's minds. So suicide is a serious public health problem that can have long-lasting effects for families, individuals, and communities at large. So I just want to say that there are suicide prevention strategies that we can all implement in our communities. And some include early identification, and that's like learning the warning signs, access to mental health services and other health services, access to basic needs, community connections, prevention education, reduce access to means, and environmental strategies like gun locks and safe medication boxes, increase life skills and coping methods, and increase economic supports for community members. And that is my statement about suicide prevention. Would you like me to read the proclamation request to you?
I think that would be great.
Sure, that would be good.
If you could read the proclamation for us, that would be great, Janine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. So, suicide is a public health concern that can affect community members of all ages. Suicide can be defined as an intentional death caused by self-harm. Many community members have been impacted by suicide. In Oregon, suicide is the 9th leading cause of death among Oregonians. Help can be initiated through crisis hotlines. The Tillamook County 24-hour crisis hotline can be reached by calling 503-842-8201 or 800-962-2851. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline can be reached either reaching 800-273-8255, and this number is still currently in use, but you can also call the 988 Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So either number will get you to the same place. For the new 3-digit lifeline, it's 988. With effective behavioral health treatment, community members who experience mental health challenges can recover and lead a full life. Everyone in the community can be impacted by suicide and has the responsibility to promote good mental health, support suicide prevention efforts, and to support mental health treatment. If you are experiencing challenges with your mental health, we encourage you to speak to your local health provider about local options for mental health services. To learn more about behavioral health services, behavioral health services provided by the Tillamook Family Counseling Center, call 503-842-8201. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Janine, I appreciate it very much. Brian Tanner Williams, I know you're in the room. Do you have any comments at all that you would like to make?
No, I would just kind of underscore the concerns which were laid out today, and want to express also that one of the things that we do, which I talk about frequently, is the question, persuade, and refer format for teaching some of those skills and strategies that people can learn that are fairly simple, doesn't take a lot of time, but is very meaningful, and are the kinds of things that people can learn to be a friend and a good neighbor, and listen to your friends, your family, your neighbors when they may be feeling like they want to harm themselves, and we want to keep doing it. Jeannie and I have been there's a QPR that's this Friday, and we've trained well over 200 Tillamook County residents, and I want to continue doing that. So that would be what I would have to say, and thank you very much for allowing us to present this to you today.
Thank you, Frank, for being here today. Comments, questions?
Just comments. I want to thank Frank and Janine for being here and for the work they're doing in our community. This is a really significant issue for Tillamook County. It seems that, we do our community health assessments every, I think, 2 to 3 years, and we do those with our medical providers as well as Tillamook Family Counseling. And frighteningly, every year when we look at our statistics, what we see is that suicide, that death by suicide is a very high number in Tillamook County, and people tend to want to say, oh, it's the visitors. It's the visitors that come to the beach because they think that, that's where they're going to take their life. But what we find when we dig into the numbers is no, in fact, it's our very own friends and neighbors. And the QPR training is something I just really encourage everyone to do. It doesn't take long. I did it last year. It takes an afternoon. And through it, you just learn how to gently approach someone that is giving off clues that they just aren't feeling okay. And it gives you the words to use, the confidence to ask the question, and it gives you the information for how to refer. How do you help that person? And if every single one of us had that training, that means that every single one of us would be listening to our neighbors and our friends, and we would be hearing the clues and the cues, and we would know how to help. So I really encourage people to take advantage of that training as it comes out, and to really listen to your friends and neighbors. To me, the statistic you gave about it being the second leading cause of death for youth is just terrifying. We're all concerned about our youth, and we're concerned as they come out of COVID and what their life has been like, and how they are adjusting back to being in school full time, and what does that mean, and how are they feeling. QPR is absolutely appropriate for you to use with youth. And so I think I encourage parents, I encourage those who interact with youth, take the training, learn how you can help. Our youth are so precious to us, and with it being the second leading cause across the nation, we're not different. Again, we always like to think that we're different, but we're not. So I appreciate you bringing this very difficult topic to us so that we can have a conversation with the community, and I appreciate the many conversations you are having with the community. I think there's also an event, is it this Saturday at the Bay City Arts Center? There is a community rock painting event, and it's an opportunity to just come and interact as community and to learn a bit more. So it's at 10 a.m.? Help
Yes.
me remember.
10 to 2.
10 to 2 at the Bay City Arts Center. It's just another place you can come and learn more about how you can be a part of the solution. And if you're feeling like you could just need to talk to someone, I think you can come there and there will be a great opportunity to just interact with people. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar, that's terrific. I agree. This is kind of horrifying, with suicide being the 9th leading cause of death in the state of Oregon. Then the statistics of our youth, as well as I know our veterans, it's just something you don't like to think about for Trumbull County. I know everyone in the audience today can picture someone in their mind that we've lost to suicide. And it's just a horrible thing. It is. So we appreciate you bringing this resolution before us today. And with that, we look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of a resolution proclaiming the month of September as Suicide Prevention Month in Tillamook County, Oregon, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Janine and Frank. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate it very much. We have an unscheduled piece of business. This is discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of intent to award a contract for the Memaloose Boat Ramp dredging support. And with us this morning, we've got Joanne Wolfley, Director of the Parks Department. Good morning, Joanne.
Good morning. Yes, we put out an RFP and distributed it to 18 different people, and we received 2 timely proposals, and we're looking at putting the proposal from Environmental Science Associates forward to a contract. So that is what we're asking. This is for the dredging support for the Memaloose Boat Launch Dredging Project. They're going to provide management and coordination of the project activities, pre-construction, fulfilling of the pre-construction requirements, the during construction requirements, and the post-construction requirements. I just want to make sure that everything is done, all of our T's are crossed and our I's dotted, and these folks are going to be able to make sure that that happens correctly.
Perfect. Thank you, Joanne. Comments, questions?
Just for clarification, I know that we are putting out the intent to award this contract now, but we are talking about actually dredging this not until sometime in perhaps the first part of next year. Is that correct? And that's due to the in-water work windows and the different pieces that relate to this project.
Exactly. The next in-water work window starts on November the 1st, ends on February the 15th. The timeline that we're looking at is getting it dredged during January.
Perfect. And I know this was a bit of a contentious issue when we were thinking that this Memaloose boat ramp would not be done until next spring. And knowing that the fishermen, like Bill, really look at this as an ideal spot for fishing, and getting it dredged so that we can get both sides of the boat launched, the boat ramp open, is going to be terrific. I know there are people behind the scenes that really worked on this, Rachel Haggerty, Sarah Absher, Joanne, yourself, and so moving the timeline up, I think, is a terrific feat. We appreciate it very much, and so with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
In consideration of an order in the matter of intent to award a contract for the Memaloose Boat Ramp dredging support, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you.
Item number 7, discussion and consideration of modification number 10 to personal services agreement number 4334 with Helion Software, Inc. for ORCAT's tax and assessment software license, maintenance of tax and assessment software license, maintenance and support services. And with us this morning, we've got Cassandra Larson, Chief Deputy Assessor and Tax Collector. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nice to see you.
Pleasure.
So before you today is an extension to our personal services agreement with Helion Software, which provides our tax and assessment software. Helion products have been in use with the county for about 22 years now, and I believe they are contracted with over half of the Oregon counties. They provide us with around 35 programs which aid in our valuation and taxation software. I strongly believe that after our employees, Helion comes in second to what we absolutely have to run this office. We have a long history with Helion and would like to continue.
Thank you, Cassandra. Questions,
Mhm.
comments?
No, just to say that I know that Helion is critical. I know that during the pandemic, as we strove to provide remote work options so that we could provide safety for employees, one of the key pieces was how do we get Helion available to people so that they can do their jobs, because without it, they simply cannot. So if anything in the world pointed out the importance of, as Cassandra said, A, our people, which is A, number one, and B, our software, I think the pandemic just took those two things and said, you don't have a department that does what it does without people and software. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I think that this is definitely a product we want to continue to use, and I am in support of this.
I would agree with you 100%, Commissioner, although I'm hoping a close number 3 would be the Commissioner's office. But I haven't heard that, so that's
You know, I haven't heard that from anybody.
I know.
I don't know.
Yes.
I have, we might need
Yes.
to address that.
With that, I think I'm going to try to get myself out of hot water here and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of modification number 10 to personal services agreement number 4334 with Helion Software Inc. for ORCAT's tax and assessment software license, maintenance and support services, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8, and it looks like, Rachel, you've got the next 5 items.
Woo.
Item number 8, discussion and consideration of the Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act fiscal year 2022 election allocation for Title I, Title II, and Title III funds for Tillamook County. That is a mouthful. Rachel Haggerty, Board of Commissioners, Chief of Staff. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. With the passing of the 2021 infrastructure bill into federal law, the Secure Rural Schools Act legislation was reauthorized. It was reauthorized, though, after predefined dates that allowed for the elections between Titles 1, 2, and 3 had passed. And so with this legislation, stopgap legislation was passed that carried forward prior payments into fiscal year 2021 and kept the allocations the same. And so the current allocation is 85% to Title I, which is schools and roads, 8% to Title II, which is federal projects, think of habitat restoration type projects, which are approved through the federal government's resource advisory committees, and then 7% to Title III, which is county projects with the specific uses, fire, wise, search and rescue, et cetera, that we've been discussing ad nauseum the last several months. So, for the first time since 2013, the counties have the ability to change these elections if we want to. So, staff was recommending, for reasons I'll go into, that we keep our elections exactly the same. Great opportunity.
After all this.
Yes, with all these emails, we're just gonna keep it the same. So, we don't actually have a lot of wiggle room here,
Right.
which is unfortunate. So, for starters, the combination percentage between Title II and Title III cannot exceed 15 to 20%, or excuse me, it must be 15 to 20%. Within that, Title III cannot be more than 7%. So we are currently maxing out 7% of Title III, so we can check that box. So the only real wiggle room we have is to take from Title I schools and roads, move it into Title II federal government projects, which have kind of been floundering for a while and not being allocated, and increase the 8% up to a combined 20% between Title II and Title III. So that's our only option for shifting allocations that I see after digesting this and consulting with AOC just to make sure I got a handle on it. And so unless we want to take any of the percentage allocation from Title I, roads and schools, and shift it into federal government projects, my recommendation to the commissioners is to keep the allocations 85% Title I, 8% Title II, and 7% Title III. Upon your approval today, I would submit this form to AOC, which is the required process. It is due to AOC by September 19th. They will then compile all of the allocations and submit to the state by the deadline of September 30th.
Wow.
Questions?
I have to understand it first. Commissioners, questions, comments?
No, I read this in depth and came up with the exact same assessment that really the options are not really options at all. In fact, the good news that I learned from this is that we are what was considered a major distribution. So the good news is that when it comes down to getting the federal funds through Titles 1, 2, and 3, we actually receive a significant amount of funds to our county, reminding everyone that does not all go directly to county government, and as you heard Rachel say, roads and schools. So there is a piece there that certainly doesn't come directly to us at the county, but there's a piece that does. So again, I think that we are doing exactly what we need to do with this allocation, and the options to change it really are not beneficial to us in any way. So.
And I also forgot to add, I did consult with Commissioner Bell prior to the meeting today because I knew she was going to be absent. She's supportive of keeping the allocations the same.
Perfect. Okay, good. And so I agree totally with Rachel and Commissioner Scar. I mean, this is, I know we've been poring over multiple emails for the past 2 months, trying to figure out exactly what all this meant, since we haven't had a chance to change anything since, what, 2013 you mentioned? Mm-hmm. Yep, and again, in the end, we keep our same allocations, but it's important to know, because secure rural school funds are important to Tillamook County. We do get a substantial amount of money in secure rural schools. And so just for the audience, secure rural schools funding and PILT funding, payment in lieu of taxes, comes from the federal government. As you know, vast majority of Tillamook County land is not, property taxes are not paid on those lands because they're owned by the state or federal government. And that affects our tax base, and that's why SRS and PILT were developed, to help make sure that the services that, if this property was privately owned, the property taxes we would get on that would go to help support essential services in Tillamook County. And since the vast majority of land in Tillamook County is not in private hands, it's in government hands, and we don't get property taxes on it. So this is one way to help ameliorate that problem. So again, I know it's been very confusing. Rachel, we appreciate all of your work on this, coming up with the same figures, but that's that's perfect. It is, that's perfect.
It is, but we should always be asking. Rachel and I were having this conversation this morning about, it seems like sometimes things come to us as county government and we just nod and smile. It's because we always do it this way. But really, I think what I want people to know is behind the scenes, we are checking, we are asking, we are making sure in this case that we did dig all the way into it to make sure that the decisions we had made prior to 2013 or in 2013 were still the best decisions. So in this case, with the framework provided, absolutely. So.
Perfect. With that, I think we're looking for a motion.
All right. Mr. Chair, in consideration of the Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act Fiscal Year 2022 election allocation for Title I, Title II, and Title III funds for Tillamook County, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Rachel, number 9, discussion and consideration of an American Rescue Plan Act sub-recipient agreement with Trees to Sea Montessori for preschool startup equipment and materials. Rachel.
In March, the board approved the ARPA funding awards with 8 awards going to community projects throughout the county. You have approved 3 agreements thus far, and this is the 4th agreement, going to preschool startup equipment and materials for the preschool program in the amount of $2,000.
Perfect. Comments, questions?
Just, the whole ARPA process feels like it was so long ago, but it really was not. And I know we are working our way through the different awards that we made to community organizations, as well as, of course, the commitments we made regarding county projects. So I appreciate Rachel's work on that. It's a lot behind the scenes to get all of the contracts in place and moving forward. So this is an exciting one because we really heard the community loud and clear that childcare is a need in our community and looked for projects that came forward that we could support related to childcare, and this is one of those. So we're very excited about this project.
So true. And, you know, when it comes to dollars with a government entity like Tillamook County, we have to be very open and transparent with everything that we do. Unfortunately, sometimes that makes us take a little longer than we like to get monies distributed to where we want it to go. But fortunately, we've got people behind the scenes, like Rachel Haggerty and Bill Sargent, our county council, making sure that we do things correctly, make sure we keep ourselves out of trouble. And before I dig a deeper hole, I'm going to ask for a motion.
And before I move, I want to thank Sean Blanchard, our treasurer, because I think otherwise we have both dug ourselves a deep hole. The ARPA funds, while they were an amazing opportunity and continue to be for us, they did not come without complexities. And Sean, as our treasurer, has had to deal with all of those complexities for every single expense that we have said, hey, we want to pay for this with ARPA. She has to make sure, in fact, that the federal government will not smile and not make us pay it back. So there she just came on camera, but Sean, I know we couldn't have done any of this without you, so I just wanted to recognize that. Did you have something to share? Nope, she's turned camera.
No, I don't have anything to share. It's taken the BOC, my office, everybody within the county to get through the process and be able to apply those funds. What are the most helpful, useful to the county, to our community, and it takes all of us to do that. So thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Rachel, Bill, Joel. I don't know if he's on, but it takes all of us to do that.
Perfect. Thank you. And again, I didn't mean to leave you out, but I always forget people, and I apologize.
Because Sean very quietly does what she has to do.
Yes.
She's one of those people that isn't up here, waving her arms and saying, wait a minute, what about me? She's like, nope, I'm just getting it done. So we appreciate that.
Get her done.
Get her done. Okay, with that, Mr. Chair,
I think we're alone.
in consideration of an American Rescue Plan Act subrecipient agreement with Trees to Sea Montessori for preschool startup equipment and materials, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item number 10, discussion and consideration of a personal services agreement with Brianna Stevens, HR Consulting, LLC, for interim human resources services. This is very exciting. Again, Rachel Agnew.
It is very exciting.
It is.
HR Annie is no longer to provide our interim HR director services, and we are fortunate enough to be able to hire Brianna Steffens under contract. She can start today. She comes recommended by Aaron Frost, our former interim HR director with HR Annie, and Commissioner Bell and I had an informal interview with Brianna last week. We think she's fabulous. She can provide not to exceed of 25 hours a week. And so extrapolating out her availability and hourly rate, this contract is for 4 months. And hopefully, as you know, we're going through interview process right now for a couple of HR director candidates, and hopefully this is just a stopgap measure that we don't have to renew, but it does provide some interim HR director services in the meantime.
With an option to extend if we need it.
Yes.
Perfect. Discussion?
I think this has been one of the most challenging, I know we've talked about a lot of positions that have been challenging to hire for during this time, and as we come out of the pandemic, positions that are still very difficult to hire for. HR expertise is one of those, and for governments, it's doubly hard to hire for because HR expertise is needed for every business everywhere in the United States. There is nothing unique or special enough about what we do to have people say, oh, well, of course, I'm going to look just at government jobs for HR. They're looking at what pays the most, and as we've talked about many times, we don't. We are a small county. We just don't have the resources to jump into the deep end of the pool, and yet HR, actually, positions like this one, director, expect people to be able to jump into the deep end of the pool. So we appreciate very much this contract. We appreciate the fact that we have someone who has the expertise, who will contract with us to get us over this gap. We did do an interview yesterday. We have another one today. I hope this is short-lived. I hope we are able to find someone, but it's a really challenging position to recruit for in our community. There's just not a lot of these experts available to us.
It's challenging, but it's absolutely essential at the same time. You don't realize, all this stuff goes on behind the scenes, and you don't realize all the things that an HR specialist does, especially for someone like the county. And we're not small. We've got, if we had full employment, we'd be at roughly 300 people in the county.
Yeah.
Currently, I think we're at 250, 260, somewhere right in there. Again, an HR personnel are absolutely essential to the operation of the county. So it's important. That's why I think that, again, this is so exciting. So with that, I'll ask for a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, in consideration of a personal services agreement with Brianna Stevens, HR Consulting LLC for interim human resource services, I move approval.
And I would second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 11, discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of the appointment of a member to the Tillamook County Tourism Advisory Committee, RTAC. Again, Rachel Haggerty, ALC, Board of Commissioners, Chief of Staff.
Alphabet soup up here.
Yes.
So we still have a couple of vacancies on the TAC, but we are proposing to fill one with Ken Henson serving as the South County Citizen at Large, appointing him to a one-year term. He's been a resident of South County for 18 years, owns restaurants, has a hospitality consulting business, etc. So it would be a good fit.
Perfect. Discussion?
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to have Ken serving on that board. I think that Tourism Advisory Committee is crucial to us, as our tourism industry is such an important part of our economy, and that committee is instrumental in providing advice and feedback to the commissioners, and specifically around our tourism grants, making recommendations. So, as always, we talk about, we couldn't do it without our volunteers, and we appreciate those willing to step up and volunteer.
Yeah, and I've known Ken for quite a few years, and he's so knowledgeable about the industry. And he's going to be a terrific new addition to our TAC. And our TAC is really important. When we have $7 million a year coming in transient lodging tax dollars anymore, it's important that we understand how we're spending those dollars. Make sure it's going to do the best for Tillamook County. And that's what the TAC is all about, making recommendations for that. So with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of an order in the matter of the appointment of a member to the Tillamook County Tourism Advisory Committee, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 12, discussion and consideration of a transient lodging tax grant agreement number 2022-P-1 with the Salmonberry Trail Foundation for Salmonberry Trail Organizational Capacity Year 2 projects. Again, Rachel Haggerty.
So the board has been discussing providing annual allocation to some of our key partners in the community. The Salmonberry Trail Foundation is one of those. Last year, you provided $100,000 for organizational capacity that goes towards their strategic plan. And this year, we decided to do that as well. So this agreement is for another $100,000 for the fiscal year expiring June 30th. Their scope of work is attached to the contract, and they have 4 components in their strategic plan: building trails, diversifying funding, growing community supporters, and building organizational capacity. And their priorities for this year are planning for the Barbie Garibaldi section, planning for the Neopani connector section, and planning in Bay City. Also looking to continue to diversify funding, specifically hiring a development director and launching the development committee, continuing to grow community supporters, and in building organizational capacity, hiring an executive director as a full-time employee, and recruiting some new board members to fill strategic positions.
Perfect.
So it is ready for your consideration.
Commissioner Scar, I know since you are the county liaison to Salmonberry Trail, I know this must be very exciting for you.
It is. This is a great opportunity. So I actually sit on two different groups relating to Salmonberry Trail. The first one is STIA, which is the intergovernmental agency relating to Salmonberry Trail. And that is an important group. It is really where this work has been centered for years, I believe 12 years, if I'm not mistaken, to get us to where we are, which is that intergovernmental agreement where state parks, Department of Forestry, the counties, I know we have recently added ODOT to that group, we have our tourism folks as part of that group, have been working together for a long time to get the backbone, if you will, of the agreements of how we will work together. And then about 2 years ago, they made the decision that the best way to fund the Salmonberry Trail was to start a supporting nonprofit, which is the Salmonberry Trail Foundation. And the Salmonberry Trail Foundation is obviously a very young nonprofit. We are about 1.5 years old, and I also sit on the board of the Salmonberry Trail Foundation. We are, as Rachel listed, working on all of the pieces that are in this scope of work. Right now we are actively recruiting for and interviewing for the executive director for the foundation, which is really exciting. We had an interim executive director for the last 1.5 years who really helped us move things forward in just how are we really going to fund this trail. He did some great work. He actually received a grant to work on a section in Rockaway and got us aligned on what's next. What are the big sections we want to work on? So now in shifting from our interim director to a full-time director, we will build out the actual foundation organization with a full team to get us ready for fundraising, building trail, moving this forward. It will no doubt be a many years long project, 20+ years to build the entire trail, which is 87 miles long. However, the work that we are doing now is really building what we need to do that and getting it started. So the other person that sits on both STIA and the foundation is former Commissioner Bill Bartlett. So this is a passion project very close to his heart, and I'm excited to share those 2 board seats with him, and have no doubt that with he and I there, we'll make sure that we keep it moving forward and that Tillamook County's needs are kept in the forefront. So.
This is a long-term project.
Yes, it is.
One that's going to take many years, but the vision, I think, is terrific. It really is.
It really is. This is, as we keep talking about, a legacy project. It's not going to be quick, but at the end of the day, it's going to connect Tillamook County through the Tillamook Forest over to the Banks area. And I mean, it really is going to be just life-changing for the economics of where it goes through. I mean, that's one of the things that definitely has been shown with these types of trails, is that people stop along the way in so many more places. And we've often talked how Tillamook County is a place that people will drive through on their way north or south. The Salmonberry Trail will really cause them to stop, park their car, and get out and walk in nature, which is what we've been hoping that our visitors would do in Tillamook County to appreciate it. Salmonberry Trail is a big piece of that. And they'll stop at restaurants and stores and hotels along the way. So
All it takes is money.
all it takes is money, and that's really what this foundation is being established and built out to do, is to locate and secure that money.
Perfect. So with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of transient lodging tax grant agreement number 2022-P-1 with the Salmonberry Trail Foundation for Salmonberry Trail Organizational Capacity Year 2 project, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Rachel. Item number 13, board concerns, non-agenda items. Anything?
I don't think so.
And I think I am good also. We have so many meetings where we can discuss all this. We have our community calls on Tuesday morning, we've got our board meetings on Wednesday morning, we've got our board briefing on Wednesday afternoon. We have lots of time just to make sure we discuss all the issues that we need to discuss.
Absolutely, and I would remind folks who are viewing this who may not have taken advantage of the opportunity to actually reach out to us individually. I know that I hear from constituents, well, I can't be at your meeting, so I can't learn. I don't know, I can't, I can't get my questions answered. And I always say, call me, email me. We are your commissioners, we are here to help, and reach out to us. I know maybe for some people it feels like we're somehow out of reach, but I would just remind people that we're not, that we are residents of Tillamook County just like you, here doing public service, and please feel free to reach out to us.
Perfect. I will discuss one item. So emergency preparedness is an important part of what Tillamook County prepares for. We've had the Emergency Volunteer Corps of Nehalem Bay around for over 20 years, and they've done a terrific job. They are the model that everyone looks at for emergency preparedness in Oregon, and even outside the state. We have a rather new group, of which I'm a board member, the South Tillamook County Emergency Volunteer Corps, and that has been driven really by Marge Joseph. Thank you very much. We had our meeting last night. Marge and her husband are moving out of state to be with family. And so that kind of left the South Tillamook County Emergency Volunteer Corps with a little bit of question as to how we were going to move forward. Very fortunate to have David Sears, a resident of Tierra Del Mar, step up, and he's been a board member for the last couple of years that we've been in existence, and he has taken over the reins. Marge Josa has fortunately offered to stay involved with the group, even from out of state, which is great.
Thank you, Mark.
So everyone, especially in South County, we need to understand that as we prepare for emergencies, we have an emergency manager, Randy Thorpe, who's very important to Tillamook County. But at the same time, getting yourself and your family prepared for these types of emergencies is extremely important. And so that's if you're from South County, you need to pay attention to the South Tillamook County Emergency Volunteer Corps. Become involved with the group. We want to turn this into another emergency volunteer corps in Nehalem Bay. And I must say that the great people in North County of the Emergency Volunteer Corps of Nehalem Bay just have open arms. They tell us you don't need to reinvent the wheel. We've done a lot of the hard work prior, and they have. And they're more than willing to share, which is absolutely terrific. So, but one other point, we need an organization just like that here in Central County. And we have yet to really been able to put that together, although we're working diligently on doing so. We need to understand that the Cascadia Subduction Zone, everyone's heard of it, and no one understands it, and well, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. Well, it's been statistically proven that it happens roughly every 300 years. It has now been 322 years since the Cascadia Subduction Zone erupted. So we're a little overdue. It may happen tomorrow. It may be another 100 years before it happens. We don't know. But when it happens, everyone on the coast of Oregon is going to know that it happens. And we're all going to be struggling. So just want to throw that out there for our listening audience. Anything else?
There is a volunteer preparedness fair in South Tillamook County. I believe it's at the Hebo Fire Station on September 24th.
Perfect.
So if you just heard that message and thought, but I don't even know where to begin, you don't have to be from South County to attend this volunteer fair. So you could be from any part of the county and just beginning to think, wow, how do I prepare myself and my family? September 24th, and I believe it is 10 to 2 at the Hebo Fire Station. They will have great information for you. You can grab, I know I've grabbed a couple of times and have just little books that say, here's where you begin. Make sure you have your 2 weeks worth of food and water and medications, food for your pets, things you just may not have even thought about. Where are your important papers so you can grab them if you need to grab and go. It breaks it down to a much simpler way of thinking about it so that you can do it just 1 week at a time. Grab one thing each week, but really do take the time to get it done. So this volunteer fair is a great way to get started. You can obviously also just go online, and I believe the Red Cross has a lot of these materials that you can get offline. And again, start preparing yourself and your family, because what we do know is the personal preparedness is where it all begins. We do have wonderful emergency responders in Tillamook County, but in the event of the Cascadia type earthquake, it's gonna take everybody being prepared on their own as well. The emergency responders will not be numerous enough to really take care of everybody. So we will need to have that self-resiliency that we are so proud of here in Tillamook County and just apply that to our emergency preparedness.
And even if you're not from South County, if you're from Central County
Yeah.
or North County, if you're from Polk County, if you're from Lincoln County,
Second homeowner?
and second homeowner, come out. And again, this is something that you don't have to do this yourself. We put together all the materials, all the thought processes that you need to break it down into bite-sized pieces so that you can start to prepare. You're not going to be prepared in one day. You won't. But it needs to be in the back of everyone's mind, and we need to take baby steps continually to move forward to make sure that you and your family are safe. So, with that, I'll go into board announcements. And we have, the commissioners will hold a board briefing today, this afternoon, Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. I know our agenda says 2 p.m. We have moved that and we've sent out a notice starting at 2:30 p.m. this afternoon to discuss weekly commissioner updates. The meeting will be held in the courthouse in the Nehalem Room, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon. Teleconference number is 971-254-3149. Conference ID 736-023-979#. Finally, there is no board meeting or board briefing scheduled for next Wednesday, September 14, 2022. And with that, having no further business before this board, time being 9:56, we will adjourn this board meeting. Thank you, everyone. It's almost as if I can't read it.